Ladies and gentlemen, we are back with Season 3, Episode 2, The Return of the King. This is the episode in which they finally have the Battle of Pelennor Fields, and... anyways... no. So, it turns out, we get a nice shot of the new journal. Some good stuff there. I noted a couple of notes about the things that she wrote down. For example, I wish I could reach Cass, and Cass's heart has been hardened, but I know my best friend is still in there. Right. We also saw a drawing of Ghost Girl, and Angry and Red for some reason, and Varian. She also mentions freedom is being able to choose to go home, which I do like that. And Eugene met his father. I always knew he was royalty. How did you know that? Why did you know that? Unless you meant that as an adjective, but usually royalty... Never mind. So, so the Stabbington brothers show up. Hey, they have lost all of their cred. And that makes sense. I mean, I've said it before, cred's everything, right? So they're going to go, and they're going to go kill Eugene. Okay, I'm with that. Cool, cool. Yeah, I noticed the lack of the right arm thing. Did I miss that in the big final battle or something? Because, yeah, his right arm is just, like, not present. I kept waiting for him to, like, reveal it or something, but I must have missed something somewhere. Either way, I do love the new outfits. We also see Rapunzel's overall approach to leadership, which is very much like hers. Like it's very upfront, getting out there, doing stuff personally kind of a thing. So that makes perfect sense. And is very, very her. I actually legitimately think that Corona will be better under her than anything else. So that leads to King Edmund, who shows up. Eugene tries to shoo him away instantly, and... why? The overall vibe he gives is, ugh, the step-parents are visiting, or something like that. But he barely knows this guy, right? He hasn't even attempted to give him a chance. He had an entire song about finding out that he existed, threw everything up into the air for him. So why doesn't he... Either way, he doesn't want everything to do with him, so he tries to shoo him away as quickly as possible. There's even this line he actually says, I wrote it down. He says, first of all, he's not my dad. Unfortunately, he has been robbed. And he even stutters over for a second, like, oh, wow. That's how it feels. Gosh. I wrote in my notes at this point in the episode, do you think it was Rapunzel or Edmund who set up the robbery and the ransom note? Yeah, no kidding, Luke. Yeah, exactly, Luke. It's just... Yeah, no kidding, Ross. Either way, apparently his real name is even worse than Eugene. Horace. I don't know. It's got a ring to it. I'm with it. I'm with it. So he does a whole lot to set this whole father-dad thing. And it's like, oh no, I've accidentally not brought food. We're going to have to go fishing. And then we'll have to have like a contest. And I'm just like, I like to think that in the entire trip down here, he was spending like that whole horse ride trying to come up with different things to do. Also, I really don't want to belabor this point, but he showed up on horse, right? The Dark Kingdom is way over there. So, how long is this after the events of the previous episode? Because he's already here on horseback. He took... yeah, no, it's the Game of Thrones thing again. It's the Game of Thrones thing. Hang on. And we're there. I'm going to let it go. I let it go in good works. I let it go in bad works. I let it go in between works. I just comment on it, move on. I mean, even Empire Strikes Back has this exact same problem. All right, we're going to go to Bespin. And we're there. But you don't have hyperdrive. Yeah, so... Anyways, and yes, I did notice the axe is not the kind of axe I would want to use, especially for throwing, which you'll notice he almost exclusively uses it for throwing. That's it. There's an owl statue right there. As soon as he actually got there, he could just use it and poop. So, there's actually this really nice little scene. There's a bunch of little touches in this episode which actually help elevate it. One of them is when Rapunzel's like, the Stabbingtons are here. Captain, be on full alert. I'm gonna crush them once and for all. Oh, And here's a couple more things for the wishes. And now back to crushing them. Like, she just flips that switch right on and off, just like that. It's really quite cute. This then leads to Stan and Pete being terrible, as is their wont. What? Oh, we know exactly where he is. He's heading out to... No, you could catch him. He's taking his time. So, they're fishing. Fishing is not going very well, I think is how I'm going to phrase that. They actually finally have a connection point, though. Of course, it's fiction. That's a common one. And you can't force those, right? You can't force a connecting point in between you and another person. So just savor those whenever you get them, which he does. And then Rapunzel finds Stan and Pete and is just like, ugh, fine, I'll go beat the Stabbingtons by myself. You know you've been downgraded when you go from being one of the principal antagonists of a work to being something that doesn't even warrant bringing back up. I mean, Edmund literally in the upcoming fight in the hayfields beats these people one-armed. Oh, and I have to share Mr. Red's terrible, terrible joke here. This is now the Battle of the Pelhanor Fields. Anyways. So yeah, this is when we find out Edmund was the one who planned it. Eugene is really pissed off, but I have to give credit to the animation. Because his face, his expression, as he's trying to work through the emotions he's feeling, is actually really good. And it really stretches and distorts in ways that, I don't know, it's just really, really good. It's really, really good facial animation. And it's all contrasted to the expression on Edmund, who's barely moving, but still conveys a fairly large amount of emotion. Great animation. Big thumbs up. Yeah, good gameplay as usual. That continues to be a trend here. So then, we have to go figure out what's going on, and she finds the yo-yo. But, they should have called that a hey. Dads are more trouble than they're worth. Yeah, ain't that the truth. Anyways, then we find out a really, really strange scene. Because Edmund is over there sulking, and the Stabbingtons show up and say, hey. And then, doodle. And all of a sudden, he's tied up and gagged while they're using him as a hostage. Now, I know he doesn't have his axe anymore, but really? He's just effortlessly caught and tied up off camera? Yeah, they took the crow hostage. Okay. And? Also, how, while we're on the subject? I don't know. It doesn't work for me at all. It felt like it was just, come on. Move on. Yeah, remember, Edmund is supposed to be one of the highest tier fighters we've seen. Yeah, maybe he wanted Eugene to rescue him? I don't know. It's the only misstep the whole episode has, so I'm willing to be lenient here. But I have to admit, this just really felt like a because plot moment more than anything else in the whole episode. Most of the other events follow through or make sense or are logical, especially when you look at them from the perspective of Edmund setting all this up. Then we cut to this, where it's like, hang on, cut to black, and hey, I'm kidnapped. And powerless, by the way. Even while bound and gagged, he's completely powerless. I know what you're saying. Well, yeah, he's bound and gagged. You cannot tell me that someone who is as high tier as Edmund is this powerless while bound and gagged. We've seen Cassandra, who's bound and gagged, be able to fight. You can't tell me that this guy can't. Moving on. So they go and they do the big log flume ride, and that's actually a pretty good sequence, as usual. Excuse me. And then there's this wonderful moment where he's like, you called me Eugene. You called me Dad. Guys, seriously? Can we just, come on. And then, yeah, this is another video game level. And the show keeps refusing to kill anybody. I know this sounds like a weird thing to complain about, but can we get some blood? I'm joking. I do find it interesting because I know that one of the major themes of the entire work is second chances. But, the Stabbingtons have been a problem for a while, right? Leaving them to die here might not have been the most terrible idea. It's okay, they wouldn't have died anyways, because lethal falls aren't lethal. Shrug. Either way, it turns out he got a new sash. And, I'm sorry, I mentioned there was only one complaint of the episode. I actually lied. I have 2 complaints in the episode. The second complaint is really, really minor, though. he's playing with his toys with Rapunzel, and then Edmund shows up. It's like, hey, Xavier and I made this new sash. And it's like, aw. And then the scene ends, and it cuts to Cassandra. That's not the end of that scene. It feels like a weird cut, doesn't it? Like the scene was supposed to go for a little bit longer, you know, maybe a little bit more of like, this thing, you're always welcome back here, or maybe we'll keep in touch, or like we can exchange stories. It feels like there needs to be some denouement of the scene, and instead it's just, aw, you gave me the sash, hug, cut immediately to Cassandra. It's one of the only parts of the whole episode that feels like they were trying to cram it in to the 22-minute time slot, because they wanted to have the Cassandra sequence, which you notice they race through this too. This is only like 8 seconds long of Cassandra walking up, trying to use the spikes, doesn't work, and then we hear Ghost Girl in the background. Cut to credits. I'm starting to think I agree with you, Lo. Because Ghost Girl, I'm just calling her Ghost Girl in my notes, is clearly some things going on here. The only question is how much of an influence she actually is. Like, is this possession, mind control, manipulation? Like, there's all kinds of episodes. But yeah, no, this episode was fun and was good, but feels very crammed. I know this sounds strange, but it almost feels like this should have been a two-parter. And I know that's a weird thing to say, considering it's not really a lot of meat on its bones for a two-parter. But they just wanted to cover too many events to really fit into a 22-minute slot. And so you could just feel the episode just constantly racing to get to the next scene. I don't know. Food for thought. Still a fun, enjoyable episode. I liked Bruce Campbell, as I always do. Eugene was interesting. The bird was fun. Hamuel, I believe was his name. That's a good point. This episode could have happened on the way back to Corona as part of a transitionary trip. Either way, it feels yellow to me, right? This feels like a generically fun, episode. There's nothing wrong with it particularly. That's another thing. Why is the owl with Cassandra? I also want to know, like, we need to come up with a new term. Blue Sandra? That doesn't work. Emo Sandra? No. Casimo? No, that doesn't work either. Stone Cold Cass. You know what? I actually like that. Nega Sandra. Oh, I like that. Nega Sandra. Stone Cold Cass actually works weirdly well. I'm not gonna lie. Just wrestling names for every character? Oh, geez, I don't know. So obviously it's the Wrangler for Rapunzel. I mean, that's a duh. And Pascal would be... Oh, jeez, I don't know. I can't do it off the top of my head. I can't do it. You put me on the spot. Pa Cassandra. We could call her Pa Cassandra. Stallion. Yeah, Stallion is Stallion. That's just it. It's spelled differently, though. It's spelled differently. Lance would be the ace with a face. I know you just said Eugene's the face, but I think that fits Lance better. I was actually about to say, for Eugene, the Smolder. Shorty? Oh, Jesus. The Walking Disaster, maybe? The Gremlin? Nah. Drunk Asshole? The definition of a heel character? I don't know. We could workshop that. Next episode, and I'm going to cover the next episode today, is Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf? That can't possibly be literal, right?